Hi there, how are you doing? The following presentations, 7 in all, are designed to familiarise you with the current aircraft serving with the Royal Air Force. Now, to tell you something about them, their purpose or role, and in some cases their history, and of course to guide you into being able to recognise them. You know, aircraft recognition. Now, a couple of the aircraft in this next section takes us into the world of intelligence and secret surveillance. So, fasten your seatbelt, Moneypenny. So here we go with section 2, which features the Panavia Tornado GR3, Boeing Sentry AEW, the Boeing Air Seeker R1, which is the RC-135, the Raytheon Sentinel R1, and finally the Airbus 330 Voyager. Now, at the time I was compiling this presentation, this first aircraft was about to be decommissioned. But I thought, what the heck, I'm including it, because it's a fabulous aircraft. This plane is, of course, the Panavia Tornado GR4. Now, originally called the MRCA, standing for Multi-Role Combat Aircraft, designed as a swing-wing supersonic multi-role interdictor, capable of precision attacks at very low level, using terrain collision avoidance systems. The Tornado was built by a consortium of Great Britain, which was British Aerospace, West Germany, MBB, and Aeritalia of Italy, collectively called Panavia GmbH. The Tornado has seen quite a bit of action in a number of theatres, most notably during Operations Desert Shield and Desert Storm during the Iraq War. Now here you see a Tornado taking off in the night from its base in Saudi Arabia. And here's a nice air-to-air shot of a GR4 Tornado in flight refuelling with a US Air Force KC-135 tanker. Now, the KC-135 uses a flying boom method of refuelling, which is different to the British. We use a probe and basket system. So you'll see the adapter that's been fitted on the end of the boom to fit the British refuelling system. There's a close-up, there it is. And all this is taking place over enemy territory. Down below is the desert of Iraq. So, as a precaution, you're about to see the Tornado firing some flares from its countermeasures pod on the starboard wing. There they go. Another one coming up now. The Tornado crew are taking these measures because there might be enemy infrared detectors on the ground preparing to fire a missile at either aircraft. Okay, nice view here from the rear seat. Now here you can see a camera film from a laser target designator, which is guiding a laser paveway bomb onto its target, which is a parked Antonov AN-12 aircraft in Iraq. You'll see the target cursor slowly start to rotate as the Tornado passes overhead, all the time putting a red laser spot on the back of the aircraft which the bomb is following. You'll see the impact in a minute. There. Now this is a nice head-on view of a Tornado coming down the runway towards us. Watch how quickly the wheels clean up. So let's look at the Tornado. It has a swing wing known as variable geometry to give optimum lift for takeoff and landing, open, and high speed swept. The thrust reversers to help enable braking on landing. This usually results in a sooty exhaust mark on the rear of the fuselage and fin. The engine intakes are rectangular and angled down and back, and the landing gear retracts into the lower fuselage. The tail fin is swept and very tall, and it has a refueling probe that retracts into the right fuselage next to the canopy. The weapon station wing pylons rotate to ensure that all the stores are always pointing forwards as the wing changes position. The Tornado has a crew of 2, a pilot in the front and a navigator weapons officer in the rear seat. It's armed with 2 27mm Mauser revolver cannons, paveway, laser-guided bombs, Storm Shadow, Taurus and joint attack munitions, and the Tornado can also carry countermeasure pods mounted on the wingtips. Now I wanted to find some footage to show the wings sweeping back, so this next shot shows a Tornado flying in front of the crowd with its wings sweeping back as it accelerates past the crowd. And these next 2 pictures shows a Tornado from the top down view showing the wings almost forward to the wings fully backed, swept for high speed flight. That's variable geometry. Okay, now for some specs. The Tornado is powered by 2 Turbo Union RB199 34R Mark 103 afterburning 3-spool turbofans. What a mouthful! Each producing 9,800 pounds dry thrust and 17,300 pounds with afterburning, producing a maximum speed of Mach 2.2 and a range of 860 miles and a service ceiling of 50,000 feet. Okay, here's our second aircraft in section 2. Now, I think most of you realise that when aeroplanes fly very low, they can't be picked up by radar because they're beneath the horizon line of the radar, so you can always sneak up on the enemy. But if you can actually position a huge radar array in the sky looking down, all aircraft can be seen and also vehicles on the ground. This is where the Boeing Sentry AEW comes in. It's based on a very, very old airframe, a Boeing 707, which first flew at the beginning of the 50s. This is still the very same airframe, but with new engines, new equipment all the way throughout, but mainly to mount this great radar system that is downward looking and can see everything. Now the Sentry has a flight crew of 4, aircraft, commander, pilot, navigator and flight engineer, and it has a mission crew of between 13 to 19 people working in the back. It's powered by 4 Pratt & Whitney TF33 PW100A turbofans, producing 21,500 pounds of thrust. It has a maximum speed of 531 miles per hour and a service ceiling of 35,000 feet. And a range of 4,000 miles. The Sentry has an unpressurized rotordome 30 feet in diameter, pitched down to neutralize the aerodynamic drag. It incorporates the Westinghouse AN/APY-1 passive electronically scanned array radar system. Now here's a little sneak peek into the back of the Sentry. These RAF aircrew are looking at the radar screens and operating various controls and communications. The Sentry is not just a detection radar platform looking at the ground below and looking at aircraft movements beneath them, and also troop and armour movements in battlefield conditions, but they're also communicating with friendly aircraft and friendly ground assets to coordinate attacks and defence in battlefield areas. These tiny plots on the screen represent enemy positions and friendly positions, and the friendly assets are being guided onto their targets by these controllers. And here's a little glimpse into the cockpit of the Sentry. And here's the profile of the Sentry. You can see that the fuselage is fairly straightforward. It's circular in cross-section. The tail fin is very tall with a curved leading edge, and the wings swept, both tailplane and main plane, and also the engines, 4 in all, mounted along the wing on pylons. Here's a takeoff picture, a good view there of the rotor dome on top of the aircraft, and you can see the refueling probe over the right hand side of the cockpit. There we have it, the AEW, Airborne Early Warning. That's the Sentry, and here's some final specs coming up. Okay, this next one is a little bit of a man of mystery, an international man of mystery. It's very, very hush-hush, very top secret what equipment goes on inside, so I can't really tell you very much technically about the aircraft. I could, but then I'd probably have to shoot myself. This is the Boeing Air Seeker R1, standing for rivet joint, which I don't quite know what that means either, but it's a kind of a collaboration of information gathering services within NATO. It's also referred to as the RC-135. It's based on the old Boeing 707 fuselage again. Basically, it was the C-135 Stratolifter back in the 1950s. This RC-135 became operational as far back as 1961, which I think was during the Vietnam War. It's a spy plane. It flies along the enemy borders, and it basically listens in to secret information that's being transmitted on microwave or even internet interception. What I understand I can reveal to you, if this makes any sense at all, is it has a sensor suite which allows the mission crew to detect, identify and geolocate signals throughout the electromagnetic spectrum. There, you have it in one. Simple. It has a crew of 2 pilots, 1 navigator, which is the flight crew, and it has a capacity inside of 21 to 27 depending on the mission requirements. Minimum consisting of 3 electronic warfare officers, known as Ravens, 14 intelligence officers and 4 airborne systems engineers, which are the mission crews. I can tell you something about the airframe itself. It is powered by 4 CFM International F108 CF201 turbofan engines, producing 22,000 pounds of thrust each. which gives it a maximum speed of 504 miles per hour, a range of 2,998 nautical miles, and a service ceiling of 50,000 feet. Okay, I was going to overdub a James Bond movie theme over the top of this, but in the end I decided it was cheesy, so I didn't do it. Anyway, if you look at the aircraft, it's got various bumps and blisters all over the place. It has these two large cheek protrusions each side. These contain huge amounts of electronic equipment and air conditioners to keep them cool. It has an unusually long nose, and running along the top spine of the aircraft and the lower belly is a line of antennas, each one of them having some very, very, very important function, no doubt. Here you have a lovely, nice 3/4 view in the air, and another shot here of it down on some desert airfield somewhere. Anyway, I'll leave you with the pictures. Enjoy. Okay, another aircraft which has a slightly hush-hush reputation, the Raytheon Sentinel R1. This is based on the Bombardier Global Express ultra long-range business jet, and it was adapted by Raytheon to meet the RAF requirements. Its job, well, it's intelligence gathering, battlefield surveillance, airspace surveillance, reconnaissance observation, and artillery spotting, border patrol, and even fishery protection. So I suppose it can even transmit, "Hey, leave our fish alone." This aircraft's basic airframe is similar to the Bombardier regional jet used all over the world for short-haul airline flights. And you see one landing here, I think that looks like Fairford. Yes, I think that's Fairford. You can see various bumps and lumps on it, which contain very, very secretive information, gathering surveillance equipment, no doubt. Here's one coming up to its parking stand. Okay, just another day in the office. A very rare view from the inside of a Raytheon Sentinel. The operators sitting at their desks watching various screens and computers that are very, very hush-hush, no doubt. And from here they can coordinate friendly troops on the ground, strike aircraft, support attacks, and reconnaissance information, and also generally keep an eye on the battlefield map and see what's happening. Okay, let's get some technical specs. The aircraft has a crew of 5. Its power plant is 2 Rolls-Royce BR710 turbofan engines, each producing 14,750 pounds of thrust each. It has a maximum speed of Mach 0.89, a range of 4,994 nautical miles, and a service ceiling of 49,000 feet. Okay, a nice view there of the engine starting up at the back and the crew boarding. You can see that the wing is a swept wing which is mounted low on the fuselage. It has a high T-tail with swept tailplane, and as I said before, various humps and bumps for electronic equipment. Here's a nice view from the cockpit of a takeoff. And here's another nice view. You can see that on the wingtips there are vertically mounted triangular winglets and the very steeply curved windscreen around the cockpit. And at the rear, underneath and between the engines, you can see the two ventral fins. And in this next view you can see not only the ventral fins below the engines, but you can also see just how extremely swept the wings are. Okay, last look at the specs and then we're on to our final aircraft of this section. I really love this music. I'm glad I picked it. Okay, the next one up is a big boy. This one is the Airbus A330 Voyager. Go on, give them a wave. So this is the Airbus A330 Multi-Role Tanker Transport, or MRTT. It's an aerial refuelling tanker aircraft based on the Airbus A330, and on the wingtips just here you can see the refuelling pods, one on the port and one on the starboard wing. Inside there is the reel and basket for the hose and basket RAF method of aerial refuelling. You see on the back of the fuselage there, it doesn't have the flying boom that is fitted to other Voyagers in other air forces in the world. The British use the basket and hose reel system. But the Voyager also is a transport aircraft for cargo and passengers, can carry up to 291 passengers. And here you see it in its air refuelling role. It has a crew of 3, including 2 pilots and 1 AAR operator. It can carry up to 291 troops anywhere in the world, and it can carry cargo in the upper and lower decks. Powered by 2 Rolls-Royce Trent 772B turbofans, it has a maximum speed of 475 knots, a combat radius of 1,800 kilometers, or 972 nautical miles, and it has a service ceiling of 13,000 feet. And on this profile you can see the Voyager with its own refuelling probe mounted just over the cockpit. So that's it for now. Hope you enjoyed that group of aircraft. We'll be going on next to section 3, and I look forward to seeing you there. Take care of yourselves. See you soon.